important. She's going to give it another go. I'm going to be quiet so we can hear the noises. See how cautious she's being. And those rumblings you are hearing are from her, not from him. Oh, so frustrated. That was such a frustrated sigh that she just gave. She tried once again, and although he sat up, she did get some kind of response from him. Definitely wasn't the response she was looking for, and that is pure inexperience from him. There you go. And I've noticed that although he is fast asleep most of the time, she'll lie down like this, but almost the entire time her eyes have been open while we've been sitting with her. The tail still is flicking. She's just not quite fully relaxed. She's trying and trying and trying to get his attention. It's so important and it's so vital for her pride's survival. But he's just not getting the message just yet. And I would say almost certainly that this is, at least for this young male, his first sexual experience. Now, with Scott and with myself a couple of days ago, you saw that it was the action of the female leopard that initiated the mating process, and the same has been applied here. And Joyce, you were wondering if the same applies to all predators. It's very, very typical of the leopards and the lions. They will do that. And I'm sure for a big cat like the tiger, I'm fairly certain it's a very similar process. And quite similar with cheetah as well. So the big cats, all three of them have the female initiating in the beginning. And that is because she knows her body, she knows instinctively that she needs repeated mating sessions to actually bring her into ovulation and to allow for fertilization. Now for cheetah, I have seen it in situations where the males have initiated it from the beginning. And that's usually in large coalitions where they are trying to compete with each other for a chance to mate. Usually there's a dominant one who wins out in the end, but quite often with that competition, it is the males sometimes initiate it. But Joyce, typically it will be the females who started out. However, in a proper full-on mating session, which for lions can last anywhere from 5 days to up to a week, and they'll be mating 3 or 4 times every hour, maybe once every 20 minutes, once every 15 minutes. And towards the end of it, the female, actually, you can see both of them start to look a little bit tired, and the males start to lose interest. She could well move her way from this male to the next Birmingham boy and the next Birmingham boy and so on. But what I did notice is towards the end of some mating sessions, both with leopards and with lions, it is then the male who starts to initiate it. And we saw that quite clearly a couple of weeks ago when the Matimbas were still in this area and Hairy Belly was mating with one of the Styx lionesses. And right towards the end, in the beginning it was always the female who presented herself and initiated, but towards the end of that she was actually fairly exhausted. She actually honestly genuinely looked exhausted, and so did he, but he would keep getting up and then initiating, and then she would cooperate. And towards the end she even stopped the rolling onto her back reflex, which all lionesses do when there's been a proper mating session. They'll roll over onto their back afterwards, and that's thought to aid fertilization. But towards the end things start to get a little bit, both partners are fairly exhausted and they start to get a little bit lax on the whole routine of what they're going through. But for these two, she's still not managing to get any of his attention. He's just gone straight back to sleep. He's ignoring her to see if she is properly asleep yet or not. What I'm hoping we're going to see, and I think there's a good chance, is as it starts to get a little bit darker and a little bit cooler, he might be more inclined to give it another go. She is now sleeping once again, but she's very, very brave. You can see in her body language that she's not fully secure when she does approach him. I'm just having a look at the back of her neck there. There's a couple of old scars. I did see some fresh blood. I think it was on the other side. Definitely not a leaf this time, I promise. There you go. You can see those old scars, and those would quite possibly be from previous mating attempts. And if we carry on a little bit down her side and onto her back, there's also marks there that look very much to me like old claw scratches. I don't think they're too fresh. I think they are scars, but that could well have been during the sort of height of the conflict between the Nkuhuma pride and the Birmingham boys, because those to me look entirely possible that it could be claw marks. She could have been swatted there. There's always a possibility that she acquired those injuries during a hunt, but I suspect those came from clashes with the Birmingham boys. Now, I mentioned that it is probably the first time for the Birmingham boy